Let's take a look at some information and charts on Terra for Brave New Coin. So Terra is the name of the chain. Luna is the name of the coin. Along with Luna, they have a bunch of stable coins that are apparently backed one-to-one. I've been investigating this over the past couple days, trying to wrap my head around this. Anytime I look at a new network, to me, I figure out, is it proof of work? Is it proof of stake? Does it have a native chain? What is it most like? In this case, it's delegated proof of stake. Where are they located? Where's the team located? They're located in South Korea. They have a very simplistic, minimalistic website. Doesn't really tell you much. They've had a few airdrops. I'll look at those in a second as well. And I like to figure out how much was minted in Genesis. Is it a public sale or private sale? Who holds the coins? Are they selling? Is it locked up? Are there full nodes on the network? What is the percentage of the network being staked? All these are important questions, like bare minimum baseline fundamentals when you're looking at anything. And they're promoting HODL mentality on their website, which is interesting. So yes, they have delegated proof of stake. They have validators, much like EOS. Instead of the top 21, they have the top 130 validators will have voting power. I guess it's more similar to Tezos than EOS in that case. Although I don't think this is necessarily liquid proof of stake, the way the supply metrics look on the websites I'm looking at. Looks like it's quote-unquote locked in some fashion. But it uses Tendermint BFT, Byzantine fault tolerance, as the consensus mechanism. And they have governance. They have some stablecoin stuff, like I already mentioned. SDR, I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. But proof of stake network, great. Stablecoins, like I mentioned, this is off Masari. Stablecoins and Luna, just getting a lay of the land. And if we look at when the launch happened, when were the raises were in 2018. And they minted $1 billion on Genesis. And that's been doled out to various people, Terraform Labs, employees, some biz dev stuff, stability reserves, and investors, basically. Cool, great, awesome. I don't know the locking mechanisms for any of these tokens necessarily. Usually, sometimes they're vested. ETH wasn't vested, but these days many things are vested in that you can't sell it until so much time has passed after the sale. Oh, here it is right here. Lock up 3 months with 6 months linear vest thereafter, which means you can only move so much over time. And it's important to know who can sell and when to figure out, has that already happened? Are they selling now? Are they holding? What are they doing, right? Do they think price is going to go up, or do they think now's a good time to be selling? Like the Link people, right? They're perpetually selling their token. It's always framed as development for the business, which is usually partially true at the very least, but also makes the founders incredibly rich most of the time, conveniently enough. So I believe at this point, most of these lockups are done. So anybody who wants to sell can probably sell. That's my guess. If we move on to the validators, so the total being staked is nearly 350 million. And we can look at the various voting powers, various entities here, some of which are venture capital, some of which are exchanges. It looks more decentralized than EOS just from the outset. It looks more like Tezos, where it's a bunch of like randoms basically, which is what you want for decentralization. Here's another venture capital. But you'd have to go through this list and figure out how many of these are exchanges, how many of these are venture capital, how many of these are in Asia, how many of these are in the United States, right? Is there a centralization risk there? Galaxy Digital, another VC. From the first initial pass, it looks like things are okay here. There isn't any glaring, obvious stuff that looks like a problem like EOS, where it's just clearly all Asia, highly centralized on exchanges, right? And that I bring all this up because it's going to be an issue for ETH when ETH proof of stake eventually goes live. What percentage is sitting where in the world? What percentage is sitting where between VCs, exchanges? It's super convenient for the retail person to participate through exchanges. So it's unlikely that exchanges aren't going to have the biggest percentage on any given day, as long as the coin is listed like ETH, for example. So anyway, that's my decentralization spiel that I talk about every time I talk about proof of stake. Just it's important always, but nobody cares until it's actually an issue with governance. So they have a Gini coefficient here. It's kind of meaningless to me, but they are trying for decentralization. Doesn't look highly centralized. It looks fine. You'd have to dig deeper to really understand what's going on there, but looks fine to me. Here's the supply metrics, kind of a confusing graph, but in general, to me, it looks like over time since January, supply has actually gone down slightly as more and more is being locked up And you're also getting more and more UST, this is their stablecoin, I believe, in circulation. So it's a general recipe for bullishness. It's survived May 18th. It survived any crazy drawdowns so far. But again, you'd have to dig deeper. Who's holding what supply where? How much is on exchanges, right? All the stuff that we're accustomed to for seeing BTC info. I can't readily necessarily look for quickly on this newer stuff. But that's all something definitely worth looking into. Looks like they've done 3 airdrops, Anchor, Pylon, Mirror. I don't really know anything about any of these. You know, maybe they'll become the next best thing next week. I don't know, but they have done airdrops, much like every other chain. You know, it's another way to give sort of utility to your token is to airdrop another coin on top of it, or you could say ERC20 equivalent maybe in a different way. These aren't necessarily ICOs. These are just towards people who are holding or using Terra, using Luna, kind of similar to the exchange protocol tokens that were airdropped onto people for using those exchanges. And here's kind of the big thing probably is USDT in the blue here increasing while accumulating supply decreases. That's probably extremely bullish. We can see it hit that sort of inflection point in August 23rd. I don't know if there's some liquidity mining incentives going on here. Maybe somebody watching this who knows intimately what's going on in the Terra ecosystem can help me out there. But if we look at Terra swap, volumes are increasing and APYs, APRs, whatever, are extremely high. So this looks like some sort of type of liquidity mining, TVL approaching all-time highs again. So people are warming to stuff that's not ETH, warming to stuff that's not ERC20. I don't know if this is an Asia thing. I don't know if it's super popular in South Korea, for example, or Japan or China. You know, I don't know, right? But from the looks of it, since January, everything's lifted off. Prices lifted off, TVL's lifted off. It's becoming increasingly popular as DeFi broadly catches on and people figure out what they can do with this stuff. And liquidity mining incentives are adequate in such a way to bring people on board, right? That's all part of it as well. So that's all I have on the fundamental side of things. Let's look at the technicals where I'm more comfortable because I can see a chart, read a chart. I've seen prices before, know what to look for, etc., etc. And this has actually been listed since 2019 on Binance. It's probably been listed elsewhere earlier, but I'm just trusting the Binance data here. Looks like some sort of volume thing picked up mid 2020 before price lifted off in November, January area. Normally I'd say there's some nefarious thing going on here, but the fact that the entire market lifted up at that time, you know, this is just rising tide raises all boats type thing. And it had, the table was set, you know, it had a type of triple bottom, it had a type of cup and handle, type of Adam and Eve, you know, all sorts of, nothing that fits anything specifically, non-specific bullishness, I guess you'd call it. Had a 5200 cross before all this broke out, and then things went nuts when DeFi took over, probably when TerraSwap started, is my guess. Played a big role in that. When there's some incentive to hold the token for a job, people are going to do that for those liquidity incentives. Then this thing sort of double topped, died off in May 18th, and then it triple bottomed and bull crossed, and now it's back at all-time highs, right? And again, if you're paying attention to this stuff, I certainly wasn't, but if you're paying attention to this stuff, you can see it happening before it happens, right? You can see the car crash or the rocket lift off as it's happening. You can see the rocket getting refueled here between May and July when everything was triple bottoming. Everything looked like it was establishing some sort of range. Everything had this head and shoulders potential, this macro thing that didn't break down, right? So Luna was just a part of that. So here we are now, and it's like, okay, now what, right? It's reaching its 1618 measured move from the previous all-time high to that May 18th local low. So for me, that would be a take profit area between 32 and 38. The 200-day moving average is all the way down here at 10. So this is just, you know, it's super overbought super quickly. And previously, it didn't retrace to the 200 before falling through it, really. It just kind of M double topped, hit the 200, and then just fell through. That was from 15 to 10. This would be from like 30 to 10. You know, that would be ugly if that happens. But that's the mean reversion potential, right? It's not saying this thing isn't going to go to 10,000, but that's what you're looking at potentially here. We're coiling the spring in the other direction. It's past its monthly R5, which is also crazy. It's up 140% in a week. Oh, no, that was Avalanche. This is up, I don't know what percentage it is. It's significant though. Not a lot of volume up here either relative to where it was previously. So all sort of be careful type of stuff. On the 12-hour cloud rather, 20 is the Kijun, which would be the mean reversion lower time frame target. And again, you can see on the 12-hour, I told you, bullish Kumo breakout, let's go. There was an edge-to-edge play that got dangerously close to canceling itself out. Held above all this volume. And again, volume on the way down is between 16 to 18, but 20 is the mean reversion level. So can this thing keep going? Probably, but if it were me, I'd just be closing at any higher high, just continually. And on the 4-hour, when things get really crazy for any chart, the 4-hour is kind of where I go, and I'm comfortable watching. Are we above or below the cloud? What do the trend metrics look like? Currently, we're still above the cloud, and it's been a super clean trend since it broke out late July. It was kind of a mess until it broke that horizontal. Broke the horizontal. It's just been rocket ship since there. Did even test the Kijun a couple times. Now, this may test the Kijun again, but if this falls below the cloud, if the cloud twists bearish, it gets harder for me to stay bullish on lower timeframes. So I'd definitely be watching stuff like the 4-hour for any bearish pullback or reversal or mean reversion type stuff. If we look at the alligator fractal, it's been bullish since late July as well. When you get this twist here, and it's told you to add to your long, add to your long, add to your long. You're adding to your long again at any higher high, but this is getting further away from the means. Again, just saying this is getting more and more overbought. Be careful type of situation. Currently, the fractal stop loss is at 1250, whatever this is. That isn't a great stop loss, right? That's a terrible risk reward at this point. So as a trailing stop loss, I'd go to the 12-hour at least, and you get a stop loss at 16-ish. But really, any lower lows here get dangerous, because if this thing drops below 26, 25, it's probably going 20 or less at that point. Easy come, easy go, stairs up, elevator down, the usual stuff. So I'd be very careful on anything that's up a 5x in a month, right? That just is common sense, I think. Hopefully, most people realize that. This has a greater potential at this point to probably relax a little bit than just keep going. If we look at it against BTC, it also had double bottom nonsense. This actually looks a lot like Doge in that it was like ranging for a long time, and then it just went buck wild in January when everybody cared about DeFi in a bigger way. Volumes exploded. You had this flag thing breakout. Broke down on May 18th, but still stayed bullish on the 5200. Had this Adam and Eve, again, double bottom type stuff. That's always what you're looking for. Double bottom, triple bottom, range break, range bound, unbinding, that sort of thing. And off it went. And now it's just in the stratosphere on the monthly R5 in the 1618 and measured move area. So again, this is a definite cautious slowdown type thing. The daily 200 is all the way down here at 24K sats. That's over a 50% drawdown from here. So there's lots of stuff telling you, be careful. The liquidity mining stuff is probably pushing this thing to these levels at the moment. So I'd watch that specifically. When do these APYs on TerraSwap calm down, right? Because the moment they start calming down, price on the token probably calms down with it. And against ETH, Luna was in a multi-month falling wedge. And again, if you're paying attention to this stuff, that's the first step, right? Being patient, watching this thing play out, just like a jaguar stalking its prey. Watching, check it once every week, once every month, whatever it is. And what do you know, it starts to break out in January, gets a 5200 cross for the first time ever in a bullish way, and just goes bubblicious to the upside, right? It bubbles up, Eiffel Tower's back down, and now it's back at that level again after, again, some sort of ascending triangle, double bottom, triple bottom craziness, So it hit its R5 on the monthly, no volume up here whatsoever relative to where the volume was previously, and it's definitely just a be careful type picture. So I think even though this thing's been listed for a while, it's still kind of early days, and a lot of stuff starts to happen when TVL or volume picks up for a coin, especially with smart contracts. So I'd be careful for any news regarding exploits or hacks or issues with the network as activity picks up. I just think it's still, a lot of this stuff obviously is high risk, so be careful in that regard. RSI and all this stuff is at like 95 or was as well, so that's something else to pay attention to. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's good that ETH has competition. I think it's good that EOS has competition, Tezos, all these other proof of stake coins. I think it's great that Tether has competition. You know, the more the better, right? But ultimately, if these liquidity mining incentives dry up, I suspect the price falls significantly with it. So that's all I have for this one. Let me just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techemy Capital on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management solution where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM, performance, allocations, where I'm sitting in various vaults on ETH, what I'm holding in stablecoins, all the trades I make in the trades tab, anything I do with any of the monies in that side of things, all listed here. So that's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.